Well, welcome to Christ and Culture. My name is Pastor Jeff Short, and today we're going to be looking at an article that appeared on the internet, Yahoo Lifestyle section of the Yahoo webpage, the Yahoo News section. It's an article entitled Alyssa Milano, Patricia Arquette Slam Pathological Liar Trump Over Abortion Remarks. It's by Aaron Donnelly, and it appeared on April 29th, 2019. Now, I want to read this article and then make some comments about it because this is an example of how the abortion industry is so much against Trump simply because he has aligned with pro-life, anti-abortion Christians to try to defeat the killing of unborn children. Now, whether President Trump is actually personally against abortion, that's a whole other thing. The point is he has aligned himself. He has supported the pro-life movement, whether out of political expediency or whether out of just wanting to be elected or whether out of knowing who his friends are who put him into office, or whatever the reasons. President Trump has demonstrated that he is the most pro-life president in the history of the United States, which is very, very strange coming from a character like Donald Trump, but that's the way it is. And politics has a strange way of changing people and aligning them with people they would never have dreamed to be aligned with, and the people would never have dreamed that they would align with. But Christians, evangelical Christians, pro-life Catholics, and others are behind President Trump in his pro-life efforts. And so obviously the media, Hollywood, the far left, the radical left, the Democratic Party, the progressives, so-called, they hate President Trump for his stand against the killing of unborn children. And so everything he says that is pro-life, they are going to shred and rip apart. So here is the latest. Some of the Hollywood actors and actresses have begun to call out President Trump and claiming that he is lying and falsifying statements and things like that about abortion, which in fact he is actually speaking the truth about abortion, and we'll find that out in this article. So let me go through this article. It says, for example, just weeks after traveling to Georgia to lobby against its heartbeat bill, Alyssa Milano is once again taking up the pro-choice rights cause. So that's the way it's framed. It's called pro-choice, not anti-abortion. They like to say that they are pro-choice. They like to claim that they're all about a woman's choice to choose whether to have a child or not. And they fail to mention that involved in that choice is the life of a baby. And the life of that baby is usually not considered by the pro-abortion, pro-death people. The only thing they care about is choice of the mother. And whether that choice involves murder, whether that choice involves dismemberment, whether that choice involves blood and violence, they don't seem to care. The only thing they seem to care about is choice of the mother to do whatever she wants to do with her child, which is absurd. No human right has the right to take another innocent life and call it a choice. That is absurd. And so let's go through this article and see just how absurd that is. The former child star, that's Alyssa Milano, joined activists and healthcare professionals. That's another misnomer. Healthcare professionals, abortion people, in slamming claims by President Donald Trump, during a rally in Wisconsin on Saturday night, the president blasted Democratic Governor Tony Evers for his plans to veto a Republican-backed Born Alive bill. And they put that in quotes because you can tell that the writers of this article are pro-death, pro-abortion, because they put in scare quotes what is actually the truth. A baby who is being aborted happens to be born instead of killed. That is what you call being born alive. It's the baby is alive when it's born. That's just axiomatic. If a baby is born and it's not dead, then it's born alive. So why put quotes on that? It's just an axiomatic truth. If a baby is born and it's alive, it's born alive. But they're going to fight this every step of the way. They're going to oppose any kind of reference to the baby alive or living or human or a real baby or whatever. They're going to try to distance themselves from that because that's part of their narrative. They want to show and they want to try to demonstrate and convince people that that baby really isn't a baby. That's just a blob of tissue. That's just an aborted fetus or whatever. They're going to name it everything they can to try to soften the reality of that baby is a baby and it's born alive. So, Tony Evers, he's the governor of Wisconsin, for his plan to veto a Republican-backed Born Alive bill, which would require doctors to fight to save the life of any infant born alive during an attempted abortion. Now, you would think that would be common sense. You know, if a baby is born, then you want to try to do everything you can to keep that baby alive. But see, that's where the contradiction of this abortion industry is. Their thinking is, well, we're trying to kill the baby in the womb. If it happens to come out alive, well, we're certainly not going to try to save it because we were trying to just kill it a minute ago. That's their logic. And the humane position would be, well, okay, say you were wanting to abort that baby, but it's born alive. Okay, once it's born alive, you have to try to save it. That's the only human thing to do. But no, they don't want to take the human approach. They want to take this deathly, steely, cold, cruel, barbaric position of, well, since it was intended to die, let's let it die, even if we can help it. That is insane. And Trump actually began to get to the heart of the matter when he began to speak. Now, he isn't the most nuanced speaker, and he isn't an expert in medical procedures, and he's not a scholar. So you're not going to expect a lot of finesse and a lot of carefully crafted words, but he got it basically right when he made these statements. So we'll get to those statements later. But then it says, Trump then accused doctors and mothers of conspiring to execute babies in a rant that has been called out as misleading and inflammatory. Okay, so the pro-abortion people are going to say that this is misleading and inflammatory, but if we examine it, President Trump is actually right in his description of what is taking place. He says the baby is born. The mother meets with the doctor, he told supporters. They take care of the baby. They wrap the baby beautifully. And then the doctor and the mother determine whether or not they will execute the baby. Now, that is the statement that has gotten the pro-death, pro-abortion people, and especially the Hollywood crowd, up in arms. And they have come out in full force to try to soften his statement about that. But let's talk about that. He's calling what they're going to do, that is to kill that baby, to let that baby die or kill it outright. Now, there are a couple ways that the baby can be left to die. It can be, or can be, uh, killed. It can be passively allowed to die because the baby can simply be left alone on the table. It can be left alone in the metallic bowl that it's put in. It can be thrown in the garbage and left to die. I mean, these are all things that have happened and do happen in an abortion mill. Or it can be actively killed, where we had, and we still have, doctors doing this. The Kermit Gosnell is the most obvious example of this actually happening. Gosnell would take babies that were still alive after a botched abortion, and he would take scissors and basically clip their spinal column, and they would die because the brain would not tell the heart to keep beating, and so on and so forth. So once the spinal column, the back of the neck, is snipped, then the baby would die. So that is definitely an execution. But it doesn't have to be that dramatic. The doctor could strangle the baby. Some abortion doctors have been known to actually just take their hand and put it over the baby's mouth. Some put their hands over the baby's throat and strangle it. Others will give it some kind of a poison, inject poison into it. There's all kinds of ways that these abortion doctors kill the babies that are born alive. Now, Trump is talking about some kind of active abortion, murder, infanticide. That's what we're actually talking about here. So the abortion failed, and so the doctors then take matters into their own hands, and they commit infanticide because that baby, that infant, is now born, and the doctors then take active measures to kill that baby. Or they take no action and passively kill that baby. But Trump is exactly right in the sense that the doctor and the mother, usually it's just the doctor, but it could be, it also involve the mother as to whether she wants to revive the baby or sustain the baby or keep the baby alive. And oftentimes, though, most of the time, I would say, as far as I can understand from the data, it's mostly the doctor who makes the unilateral decision to either passively let that baby die in the on the table, or the doctor steps in actively and murders the child directly. In either case, it is immoral, it is barbaric, it is despicable, and Trump's rhetoric, his use of the word execute, even though it is inflammatory, it does describe the situation. So you can rail against his use of vocabulary, but unless you can refute what he's actually saying and the reality of it, you have no grounds to stand on the pro-abortion side. So let's read further here. It says in the article, while Trump's statements, which he also shared on Twitter, found support within the anti-abortion rights community, they were roundly dismissed by many medical professionals. Okay, so with one NICU nurse who worked on a hospital's bereavement team calling it one of the sickest accusations leveled by this deranged dictator yet. Okay, so that's obviously a Trump hater, and so her opinion of what he said doesn't count for much, whether she's a nurse or whatever her profession is. So she disqualifies herself by her. She has the derangement syndrome. She's talking about deranged, but she's got Trump derangement syndrome. So you can pretty much discount whatever she's saying, no matter whether she's a nurse, a doctor, or a so-called health care professional. Now, It says here that the statement was dismissed by many medical professionals. On what grounds was it dismissed? Was it dismissed on medical grounds? Okay, I don't see any. I don't see any evidence. I don't see any refutation. I don't see any counter arguments. It's just people who work in the medical profession who are for abortion didn't like what he said. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that a trained doctor or a trained medical professional has a counter argument to what he said. It just means that people who are for abortion, who happen to work in the medical profession, didn't like him saying what he said. That's all it means. So it doesn't count for anything. You can say the head of a medical society dismissed his comments, but you then have to ask, well, why did they dismiss Trump's comments? And if they don't have any good reason for dismissing Trump's comments, then their word doesn't count for anything because it's just someone's opinion. Unless you present facts, unless you present an argument against what Trump said, unless you let us examine why you base that opinion on facts, then we don't have to really take into account what you're saying. And that's what you have with a lot of these reactions against Trump and what he said. They're not giving any concrete arguments against his statement. They're basically just spouting off their own opinions because they like abortion and they don't like Trump, and so they're going to weigh in that perspective. Now, the celebrities have also gotten involved. It says here, celebrities have also weighed in. Oscar winner Patricia Arquette called Trump a dangerous deceiver and pathological liar, while actress Sophia Bush tweeted that his horrific remarks will get someone killed. Okay, again, back up your statements. Explain what you mean. What are you talking about? Why is this a dangerous deceiver and a pathological liar? Why is his statement a lie? If you don't have a reason, then it's just, again, it's just someone's spouting off an opinion. That's what you get a lot of times in news today. You get celebrities who are not experts, who don't have any particularly moral credibility, and they're quoted on moral matters as if they're somehow the paragons of morality. I think it might be a good rule to basically dismiss all celebrities in whatever they say on any moral issue, because Hollywood is known for the corruption of its moral standards, probably more so than any other area of society. Hollywood is a corrupt, immoral place. So why would we go to Hollywood and celebrities and find out what they think about a moral issue when they're the most corrupt people in our society? Doesn't make any sense. Milano accused the president of portraying liberals as baby killers who want to open borders and want to take away your guns. Well, they are baby killers. If abortion is murder and you're promoting that, you're promoting killing babies. And that's baby killers. Those who kill babies are baby killers. Those who support baby killers are baby killer supporters. I don't see any contradiction. It's just like rhetoric aimed against a cause because you have no facts to support it. Alyssa Milano, we must continue to call out these lies. Which lies? This is going to be his and the GOP strategy going into this election. He will paint the left as baby killers who want open borders and want to take away your guns. Okay, so there's all kinds of political issues here. I don't care about these other things right now. I just want to talk about abortion and Trump's statements. So, baby killers, that's true. That's true. Nothing wrong there. There's no lie there. As he's proven in the past, the only way for him to win is by lying. How is he lying? How is he lying when he's saying what is actually happening. A baby who is born alive and either left to die or killed outright, that's killing a baby. How is that not true? Okay, MSNBC. President Trump made a false claim that mothers and doctors have the option to execute babies after they are born at a MAGA rally in Wisconsin. Okay, how is that not true? How is it a false claim? Okay, I don't see any explanation. Her comments about Trump sparked some backlash for the actress, with one critic telling her, "Your mother should have aborted you." Now that's nasty, that's dirty, that's hate, and there's really no room for that kind of reaction in the pro-life movement. Again, two wrongs don't make a right. If you have someone who is spouting off hate against pro-life Christians, that doesn't give the right to spout back hate at the pro-abortion, pro-death people. You don't do the tit for tat. Okay, so that's wrong. I mean, whoever tweeted "your mother should have aborted you," never ever counter a hateful statement with another hateful statement. That's not Christian. That's not our role. God doesn't call us to do that. We feel like doing that. Our own flesh nature, our own human nature, our fallen nature, sinful nature wants us to do that. But we have to resist doing that because that's not Christian. That's not God's will. Milano reacted by taking a page out of Chelsea Clinton's "Kill Them with Kindness" playbook. Okay, well, so she's going to try to be sweet and polite, but still, it's behind the whole thing is this culture of death. Hi, Larry. I'm so terribly sorry you feel this way. Is there something I can do to help you with your hurt you have in your heart? Let me know. In the interim, be well, and may God bless you and yours now and always. That is so insincere. That is so insincere. She doesn't mean any of that. God bless? No, that she's not really meaning that. It's sarcasm. It's a pathetic attempt to be sweet, right, and kill them with kindness, but it's insincere. It's false, and everybody knows it. Yeah. Another critic responded to Molino's tweet by firing back, and the Democrats lie about everything too, so what's your point? Now, that again, that's not the right approach. You don't try to say, well, you do that too, or that's the wrong approach. So the truth is that Donald Trump actually raised a very important point, and the Democrats don't want that point brought out, and that is that it is inhuman, it is despicable, it is immoral to not treat a baby once it's born. Now, we're not even talking about abortion at this point. We're not even talking about when one might have an abortion, if there are abortion allowances in a certain state. We're not even talking about abortion. We're talking about once the baby is born. And Trump is saying and mocking this governor, Wisconsin, who's going to veto a bill that would require doctors to treat babies who are born alive. It just seems like such elementary moral thinking to say, of course you're going to treat a baby who is born alive. The baby, through whatever circumstances, through whatever happened in that abortion mill or the abortion hospital, the baby happened to survive. Okay, so once it's survived, even if you're pro-abortion, even if you believe in abortion, even if you're pro-death, you have the only decent thing to do, and that is to try to save the life of that child. I just heard a story about a woman who survived an abortion. And the only reason she survived the abortion was that her mother went in for an abortion. The doctor aborted a baby successfully, but little did the doctor know that the woman had twins. And so that woman's sibling was aborted, but she survived because the doctor didn't see that the woman had twins. And so the mother became pregnant anyway, and she gave birth. And this woman has a great testimony. Okay, things happen that aren't planned for in hospitals all the time. And when they happen that aren't planned for, then you have to do the decent thing and you have to do the moral thing. And it's only decent, it's only moral for even a pro-abortion doctor, even an abortionist. Once they have a baby on their hands that's alive, once they have a baby in the room that was born alive, the only decent thing to do is to do whatever it takes to keep that baby alive. That's a basic human right. Now, some pro-choice, pro-abortion people say, well, the person becomes a person at birth. Okay, that was the argument. That is the argument in many cases that they try to use. It's a bogus argument because a baby is a person from the moment of conception. It's a human person. DNA, everything is human. But let's say you take that pro-abortion argument that, it only is given human rights when it's born. Okay, well, here's a baby born alive because of a botched abortion or something happens, a mistake, whatever, alive. Okay, so now it gets human rights. It's given all the rights that any other human being would be given. So this celebrity, Melissa Milano, and this governor, evidently, they don't even want to give the baby born alive the status of human rights of the living. And Trump talked about that and did so in a very powerful way, and that's what got him in trouble. So here's a case where the reality was really stated, and then the culture of death didn't like what was being stated, and they wanted to try to silence the truth. Well, we have to keep repeating the truth. We have to keep on not being silent, and we need to present the Word of God and present the Bible's view of life and stand up for life. And we should take this example that Trump gave and remind everyone that babies born alive, and they are afforded all the human rights that anyone else should have. Well, hope that's helped, and we'll see you back next week on another edition of Christ and Culture. God bless.